Welcome to The Breakaway with David and Fabian. We have so many topics to discuss today, so let's get this done. So Kamala's honeymoon is over, and we're going to look at some interesting polls regarding that. And then we've been up to some interesting stuff, Fabian, so we're going to let the people know what Breakaway has been up to. The funniest thing I've seen so far, honestly, with the whole campaign trail, Tim Walz's own family endorses Trump. So we're going to look at that and how the media try to twist this one. And Venezuelan gangs are taking over. They're taking over what? Major cities. Major cities in what? In blue states?
In blue states.
Like Colorado. All right. So why don't we just jump right into it? I want to just pull these polls real quickly up. But, you know, I was pretty pessimistic, honestly, a few weeks ago, right? I was telling you, Fabian, this is not looking too good. Kamala, there's a lot of excitement from behind her or for her.
Well, no, you're actually not wrong there. From behind her, there's a lot of excitement behind her.
That's a
Willie Brown.
With Willie Brown, right? But so, and no, I wasn't around, obviously, in 2008 for Obama's presidency, but a lot of people were saying, this feels like Obama, you know, coming in and everybody's behind her and look how much money she's raised and all this stuff. Well, she was also up in a lot of polls, and that's why I was starting to be a little bit worried about that. But it seems like she crashed. She hit, you know, her ceiling, and that not only that she didn't stay up in the ceiling, she completely crashed.
And she didn't break the glass ceiling either.
She did not.
She bounced off it and fell back to earth.
Yeah, definitely.
Kamala Harris.
Well, welcome back to Earth, Kamala Harris, because now Trump is back to leading you according to Nate Silver polls. So Nate Silver, I like to look at his polls a whole lot because he runs 538, which takes a lot of credited polls that have been very accurate in terms of polling presidential polls for 20, 30 years. And he's showing the chances. So these are just the chances of Trump winning is actually 58%. And of Kamala's is 42%. So, and I believe even like an hour ago, I saw a new poll already that this is from the morning. So I saw a new poll that was like has a 60% chance now winning under the same forecast, Nate Silver's forecast. He's up across all battleground states except Wisconsin and Michigan, but he's tied in Wisconsin and Michigan as well. And this is according to Morning Consult, NBC polls, various other places. His net favorability is also starting to rise across various battleground states. So that's always good to see. And it looks like Tim Walz is finally starting to look like the candidate we've been expecting to see when it comes down to net favorability. I mean, he had like a +8 net favorability in Pennsylvania. Now it's -1. So,
wow.
You know, it's obviously dropping quick because obviously I think Pennsylvania is a perfect representation of people that you can't fool, right? These good vibes, feelings, that may be something that they feel for a week or two. It gives them a refreshment from Biden. But once people actually, one, heard the policies that they're putting forward, two, saw the interview, and three, all of a sudden started to see policies that are exactly the same thing that they've been criticizing, mimicking Trump's policies, they started to completely go down. So, Fabian, what are your thoughts?
You know, I was saying this is going to happen. The honeymoon phase is going to end.
You did.
And
you warned me.
And now it's ended. And now it's like hula hoop. Not hula hoop. I don't know what they call it, but it's how low can you go? Where you put the bar and you try to get under it. So the bar's been set. Now let's see how low she can go, because the lower she goes, the more Democrats will start to panic. And the more that, I think her campaign's going to get even more disillusioned if they're not already because of these poll numbers. But you'll start to see them firing people, bringing in new people. And when you know things are going like that 2 months before the election with a candidate who doesn't have any policy yet, that's determined to be a campaign in shambles. No policy. You're losing in the polls. We haven't said anything, but you're still losing. So there should be no real reason why people should be mad at you if you haven't said anything except go have joy and we're going to fix the economy or whatever she says. And Tim Walz is a character that, you know, I don't know if they realize how weird he was going to be when he came out on stage, the way he's very like finicky, how he waves, how he bows. He's just a very weird guy. And of course, the name Tampon Tim couldn't have helped because that's everybody knows Tampon Tim now.
China Tim, you know, he has multiple names. CCP Tim,
CCP Tim,
Embezzlement Tim.
And we were talking earlier about how Trump has done a really good thing in bringing out this communism term back into the political fold, because I can't ever remember in my lifetime a candidate calling another one like a straight communist. But now we have Comrade Kamala, all these names for her. And I think that's really hurting her. And I think that's a very good strategy by the Trump campaign to keep pressing on that.
And it's not even a straw man thing. It's not like, oh, Republicans are accusing us of being communist, socialist, like an old playbook or something like that. No, they legitimately propose stuff that you would see in communist countries, like federal ban on price gouging, right? I'm sure a lot of people that are on the corporate side were all of a sudden like, oh, I can't really support that, right? And various other things. They want to increase the corporate taxes. Obviously, that hurts small and pop businesses. A lot of people who traditionally probably do support Democrats are starting to think to themselves, do I want to pay more taxes? What are my taxes going to go towards? Is it going to go overseas? Is it going to be any investment in my community?
Yep.
Why should I pay more now when I'm actually probably struggling? And maybe you're not struggling, but why in the hell in the first place would you even want to pay more, right? And maybe these are the questions people are finally starting to ask themselves, because the joyride, my friend, Kamala Harris and Tim Walz is over. It came to an end, right?
Get in the caboose because the ride's over.
Yeah, and the New York Times said it best, that this was a campaign a high buzz on good feelings and joy, right? They really made sure that they concentrated on this word joy, because they thought that if people would just feel good, then they could forget about the policies.
Yep.
Well, guess what? When a lot of stuff comes out, like corruption cases or people being accused of certain things, like Kamala being accused of certain stuff like that, the joy runs away and they have to depend on the policies. Well, if you have no popular policy, what do you have to introduce? You have to introduce stuff that is popular. Well, guess what is popular? What is Trump introducing? So we're seeing a perfect reflection happen like that. And people are asking themselves at the end of the day, why would I vote for Kamala Harris when I can just vote for Trump, who has been saying this for a while?
Yeah, if she's going after the female vote, she has it. So what does she have to do now? She has to pull from the independents, from the more moderate Democrats. And that's not going to work with a campaign that's about joy, because you tell someone in Pennsylvania, hey, it's okay if your job sucks, and if you're getting paid peanuts, if everything's 50% more expensive when you go to the grocery store, it's okay. Just have joy. They're going to be like, get the hell out of my face with that crap.
Yeah.
And I think we may be seeing a little bit of that. So it may be that she's going to start introducing policy, because that whole joy thing fell flat with the Democratic voters that she needs to pull over from her or for her. And she already solidified the far left base and all the white liberal women who are going to vote for her. And now she has to go after people who aren't impressed with the joy stuff.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And probably what also doesn't help is the fact that Tim Walz's own family came out against him, right? And we'll quickly wrap this into the same topic here. So Tim Walz's own family came out against him. And this isn't some nobodies that nobody has ever heard about. We'll actually touch about that in a second. But Tim Walz's family endorses Trump. And let me show you guys how the media spent this. So it's literally a picture of Tim Walz's distant family, like cousins and whatnot, wearing a shirt saying Walz for Trump. And it's a huge Trump flag in the back that says Trump 2024, take America back.
Yep.
And they have an official spokesperson with a number so people can actually contact them. They said they will not be doing interviews, but let me explain to you how this all happened in the first place. So shortly after Governor Tim Walz was named the Democrat Party vice presidential nominee, our family had a get together. We had t-shirts made to show our support for President Trump and JD Vance, and took a group picture. That photo was shared with friends and family. And when we were asked the permission to post the picture, we agreed. The picture is real. The shirts are real. We are the Nebraska Walz family, and we are related to Governor Tim Walz. Our grandfathers were brothers.
That's crazy.
So how did the media try to spin this? AP wrote the photo of people wearing Nebraska Walz for Trump shirts, their distant cousins. CNN's main headline said, Tim Walz's own sister doesn't recognize these people. But, they don't do this when Trump's like, third grade teacher comes out and says, hey, Trump acted like this in my class or whatever. And then CNN's like, yeah, that's why you shouldn't vote for Trump. So it's crazy, what is happening. And I had to say, we had to include that in there. That's probably why she's crashing also in the polls.
Well, you have a bunch of your family members wearing shirts that say, hey, I'm voting for the other guy. They probably know something about Tim Walz that we should that we should take their word on if they're saying we're not supporting him. Like they have to, even though they're not his immediate family, but you see family members at family gatherings. You hear about certain family members. Hey, this is a weird one. You kind of know who the weird ones are, the ones who you kind of say hi but don't really interact with. And I feel like that was definitely Tim Walz because he is a very weird person. So I can definitely see that, especially when you're putting tampons in a boy's bathroom. That's probably not something that goes over very well with most regular people, as we see, which, you know, a large majority of Americans don't support these drastic extreme policies that the left is pushing. But it's really interesting to see the polls crumble, Tim Walz kind of be exposed for what he is, and Kamala Harris doing her chameleon voice accents in all these different states that really looks disingenuous to voters who are trying to get real, actually actionable information from their presidential candidate that's asking for their vote, but hasn't told you why to vote for her.
And shout out to Peter Ducey for actually bringing that up during the White House press conference, because you need to call that out. What kind of shit is that, honestly? And excuse me for cussing, but seriously.
It's French. It's fine.
It's French. It's fine, right? True. But seriously, Peter Ducey actually called it out during the White House press conference. Finally, somebody noticed it. Not noticed it, but mentioned it in such a, spotlight, I would say.
Absolutely. Yeah. So in other news, guys, we have been doing a ton of content. We have been going out in the field. We have been, yesterday, for instance, we went to Georgia State University to interview students face to face on who they're voting for and why. We've also, yesterday, we went to the tragic shooting that happened over at Appalachia High School, and we interviewed the father of one of the young students there, and we interviewed a few other people, spoke to the media. It was a really eye-opening experience. In addition to that, we go live on TikTok every single night, and we just have an open debate with liberals, convince us why Kamala Harris is better than Trump. So we are out on the front lines, theoretically and literally, because we're actually going out and meeting people. We're meeting people online when we do these debates, and we also shoot this podcast in addition to that. So we are doing a lot right now, creating a lot of content. So thank you for watching. But yeah, just being out there at the high school where the shooting happened, it was really eye-opening.
It definitely was eye-opening. It was my first time. I think your first time as well, being somewhere on the scene like that. We were reporting on the scene, and first we got there, we saw all the media there, right? Usually you see that on the TV, you see that on Twitter, but yet here we are actually reporting what is actually happening, seeing the yellow tape, seeing the trucks, seeing the cop cars, all the other investigative cars and whatnot. It was very, very surreal, honestly. It was very quiet. You mentioned that to me. You said, hey, it's pretty damn quiet. And I was like, wow, yeah, I didn't even really notice that at first, but it was very, very quiet. You could hear only drones flying, helicopters flying, right, stuff like that. And we were walking around. There was a girl that was protesting, or maybe, I don't know if to say.
I think it's just like displaying her emotion with signs. I guess.
You go. That's a better way to put it. Exactly. And we also met a local person there. It's a local father who, lived in the county for 19 years already. His daughter goes to the school. She was at the school that day. He had to rush over from work for that. We did an interview with him, and just being out in the in the field like that, was really intense, very surreal, and I actually liked that. Honestly, I really enjoyed. I hated the circumstance that we're there for, but it was interesting to be there firsthand, reporting that stuff when usually I'm the one that's receiving that information because people are out there.
Yeah, I mean, being on scene really allows you to see exactly what's really happening without all of the filters that the media puts on it, the spin that the media puts on it. Actually being out there and not sensationalizing things, just literally reporting on things, because the media sensationalizes a lot of these tragedies for their own gain, for clicks and things like that. We were just out actually talking to people, and we got more interviews than the mainstream media did, because we were just talking to people actually. Hey, what's going on? Like, what happened here? Can you tell us? And they opened up. I saw some of the interviews that the media made, and just talking to that father, getting that firsthand information, seeing the pictures that people were sending him. We saw a picture of the shooter. He actually showed us before it was released. We saw pictures of the actual tragedy, someone laying on the ground. It looks like they were deceased from inside the classroom. And it was just very eye-opening. And to get that information firsthand before all the media filters get it, we really know the truth of what was happening.
Yeah, absolutely. And we actually saw the media trying to spin it in real time, right?
Yeah, we did.
I was filming you interview the girl that was expressing
Yep.
her feelings, right? And I couldn't help but hear what was happening next to me. It was our local Atlanta news affiliated network, Atlanta First News. And what were they talking about? They were, of course, reporting the new updates that were coming out. It was a 14-year-old, the victims were involved and all this stuff. But then all of a sudden I start to hear that this is the reason why we need to start to think about gun
Yep.
control. And this is, I heard something regarding Republicans in Georgia state legislature and all this stuff, the usual talking points would see. And they're just following the prominent Democrats that they see on Twitter, right? I mean, I told you this, it's crazy. They didn't even wait 30 minutes after it was announced that there was victims involved. Prominent Democrats and even paid idiots like Harry Sisson going on Twitter trying to use this for their advantage, for political gains, for political advantage right away. It's so disgusting. But why don't we take the folks to the morning as well, yesterday's morning. So yesterday morning, we went to that college campus to talk to students.
Yep.
And I want to just paint the picture to people where this is. This is smack downtown Atlanta. All right. And to get into the school, you don't need a high GPA. It's like 2.2 or something like that. So the majority of the people that we're talking to, it's fair to say that we're low informational
Definitely
voters.
low information voters.
Absolutely. Very low. So it's interesting to see their perspective in a predominantly heavy blue county, right? This is Fulton County. They vote 85% Democrat. And we want to understand, why do the students who now have access to actual technology to go around the propaganda, why are they voting for the person they're voting? And majority of people, besides like one or two people, told us that they're voting for Kamala Harris. And we got some funny clips from it. I mean, Fabian, didn't it feel like we were just doing our usual TikTok lives, but just in person?
It was the same type of person that we were talking to in front of us that we'd speak to every single night. Actually, I would say some were even better and some were worse. So we had a whole range of people. I think we had one guy who didn't understand if he was Republican or Democrat. I think he was confused on what those were. But it was really interesting because these are the people who are going to potentially decide the election. I mean, Georgia, you said was won in 2020 by like 9,000 votes. Like, that's an insanely small amount of votes. So I felt like we were actually educating them while we were talking to them, because a lot of them secretly exhibited, not even secretly, I picked up on it, exhibited conservative tendencies, but with this overarching ideology, or not ideology, but just idea that it has to be a Democrat that's saying that because it's good. And when I called them out, they were kind of like taking it back, like, no, I'm not a Republican. I'm like, yeah, but it's kind of conservative what you're saying there, man.
Definitely.
So, you hear these superficial lines, and we just kept digging deeper and deeper. And some people even in my comments said, hey, like, you were mean to that girl. I said, that's incorrect. I didn't ask her any gotcha questions. I was just asking her questions about what she was talking about. And if it came out that way, it wasn't me doing it. It was just the answers maybe didn't suffice to the people who were listening, but that's what that person really believes.
Yeah, absolutely. And I like the approach that we've taken there, right? We're asking questions. We're just trying to understand why people are voting the way that they're voting. And perhaps if they believe something that is just objectively not true, then we just want to provide them a certain, fact or something to understand if that actually changes their opinion.
Yeah.
And what just shocks me every single time, which probably shouldn't anymore, is that when we give them that objective fact and ask them, does that change their opinion? No, because majority of these people will say the same exact thing, that regardless if this damages them, if some certain policy of the candidate that they support is put forth that actually directly damages them, their family, their community, their state even, they still don't care about it. Why? Because Trump. He's bad. He's whatever reason that they give us, right? And they're scared of Project 2025. That's a typical narrative that we constantly would hear. And it's crazy to see that actually play out in real time. But it's also amazing to see what you did in real time, and to actually challenge people and see their minds actually turn and say, maybe this guy has a point or something like that. So
yeah,
it's cool.
Absolutely. Yeah. So in other news, something big happened this morning, which could spell a big change for Ireland in 2025.
For Ireland?
For Ireland.
Are we, wait. We're going across the pond now?
Yes, and I'm not talking about any famines or any wars with the IRA I'm talking about Mr. Conor McGregor, the notorious MMA himself. He is thinking of, well, I don't know if he's officially done it, but he is apparently running for president of Ireland now.
No, Conor McGregor is running for
Conor
president now.
McGregor. So Conor McGregor has been very critical of the government in the last year, especially when the migrants problem started, and so they tried to cancel him. It was they were not able to cancel him. He's literally like the biggest person, obviously, in Ireland, maybe ever in Ireland, as far as like modern times and not in war. But he said on Twitter, as president, I will hold the power to summon the dial as well as dissolve it. So, as I said before, I would have all the answers the people of Ireland seek from these thieves of working man, these disruptors of the family unit, these destructors of small businesses, and on and on. These charlatans in their positions of power would be summoned to answer the people of Ireland, and I would have done it by day end, or I would be left with no choice but to dissolve the dial entirely. Stop the train until the people of Ireland deserve answers they seek. Point blank, this would be my power as president. I know very well Ireland needs an active president employed wholly by the people of Ireland. It is me. I am the only logical choice. 2025 is upcoming. So that's his statement.
That's beautiful, honestly. And it just shows you, right? It seems like these countries are looking for somebody that is, I guess I don't know,
I think they're just looking for toxic masculinity.
Yeah.
They just need a guy again that's like, what the fuck are we doing?
Seriously.
Like, I'm not paid by the globalists. I made my money fighting Floyd Mayweather. I'm worth 100 million, whatever, plus dollars. I don't need money, so you can't buy me. And that's what they hate. Elon Musk, you can't buy him. Donald Trump, you can't buy him. Conor McGregor, you can't buy him.
Now, do you think this will actually work, though? Like, is anybody actually going to go out there and support Conor McGregor?
If Conor McGregor run for president, he would definitely win. He would definitely win. Every Irish person sees him as like the guy. They love Conor McGregor. You meet Irish people here in America, they start talking like Conor McGregor. They walk like Conor McGregor. They dress like Conor McGregor.
You think he'll have like that Donald Trump effect?
Absolutely. He's like the Drake of Toronto. If you go out in Toronto, you see all these guys at the club dressed like Drake with their chains, with their, with everything, and with their little sweatshirts that he wears and the same hair and all that. He's that, but for Ireland.
Wow. Well, we'll have to stay updated on that story, and you can always stay updated on Breakaway, of course.
Yes, you
we'll
can.
always deliver that news to you first, especially Fabian, because I know that you like
big fan of MMA.
Yeah,
big
MMA,
fan.
MMA. There you go. So let's turn over back to America, to a story that's just went viral all over the place. I saw it on Twitter nonstop because a video was leaked or posted, at least, of a ring bell camera of several, it was 8-10 members of a Venezuelan gang, essentially walking around with guns door to door, trying to embezzle people that are living there, just saying, hey, give me whatever you have, all the money, $200-$300, whatever it is, we'll make sure we protect you guys. But essentially it seemed like Venezuelan gangs were taking over apartment complexes in Aurora, Colorado.
Would you believe it? A blue state.
Would you believe it? So all of this came out, right? And the police decided to investigate. So Aurora police reacted to alleged Venezuelan gangs' presence at apartments, saying that they have not taken over. And this is exactly what they said. I'm not saying that there's not gang members that don't live in this community, but what we're learning out here is that gang members just haven't taken over the complex. Now, Fabian, I asked my friend who lives in Colorado. He's not conservative whatsoever, and he lives pretty close to Aurora. I said, dude, what the hell is happening in Aurora? And exactly what he said. Bro, damn Venezuelan gangs. We brought them all out here from all of these other states, and now they're starting their gang shit. And this isn't just happening in Colorado. A day after this happened, a group of 32 armed Venezuelans, again, Venezuelans, took over an apartment building in Chicago tonight. And then the audio of the 911 dispatch was posted. And this is also happening in New York City. It's happening across all of these major cities.
There's an old saying that you get what you wish. And if you're a leftist promoting open border policies and you're saying, let's be a sanctuary state, well, now you're seeing the ramifications of that stupid idea. This is why you have to talk to people. So if you have a dumb idea, someone can be honest and say, hey, that's a dumb idea. but that doesn't exist on the left. You can't counter anyone's argument because then you're a bigot. So they're reaping what they've sowed. It's unfortunate that this is happening. I'm sure there's a lot of people who aren't even political who are just caught up in this stuff.
Oh, definitely.
And the fact that the government won't send in police or National Guard, or I mean, it's only 32 people.
It's not even only that. It's the governor is denying this, saying that this isn't happening. The police department is saying this isn't happening. I just want to add you another interesting fact here. Could you guess which state imported the most amount of illegal migrants to their state?
Alex, I'll take what is Colorado for 200.
There you go. Bingo. With over 35,400 migrant arrivals in Denver alone.
Wow.
Since January 2023, Colorado has the highest level of migrants relative to population of any state not on the southern border.
You know, I was there during 2020 when I biked across the country, and that was one of my stops. And I remember always wanted to go to Denver so bad. I had this idea.
Denver is a beautiful place.
It used to be.
Yeah.
And I watched Dumb and Dumber, and I'm like, I have to go here. And I couldn't believe what I saw. It was literally what happens when leftists take over a city. And this is back in 2020. I couldn't even imagine how much worse it is now. There was tents all over the lawn of all the public spaces where the courts were, where the city hall was at. Just literally hundreds of tents. And I'm like, this is Denver? Like, this is Denver? I was very let down.
Here's the thing is that it's not even just Denver. It's also New York City. All right. I saw this on New York Post. Migrants flooding New York City's justice system, making up 75% of the arrests in Midtown.
75%?
Yes. And not just in Midtown, right? But in Queens as well. 60% of the arrests there are from migrants, right? And what is the common pattern between all of these cities? Sanctuary cities.
Sanctuary cities.
Right? So the federal or the police department is essentially handicapped. They can't actually solve the problem. And then the district attorneys, who are majority of them are George Soros installed district attorneys, aren't prosecuting the crimes. So they can't deport them out of the cities. And then they can't even keep them in jails in the first place.
They can't do anything. You know, this is a perfect example of a two-tiered legal system, which we see in the UK, especially right now, where the protesters are left alone, but the people protesting, the protesters are put in jail, the actual English people. So it's just really interesting what's happening. Sanctuary cities. Oh, there's a video I posted the other day of there was a few officers there and some people in an apartment complex saying, hey, this guy assaulted someone. And they're like, we can't do anything because we can't call ICE. This is a sanctuary city. Then the cop says, I was going to arrest a double homicide murder suspect, but I couldn't. And this is literally, you can commit murder and they can't arrest you. That's the exact definition of a two-tiered legal system. And, you know, earlier we were talking about this, but if the goal is to cause chaos, what better way to have a two-tiered policing system? And as we see in the UK, you have the illegal migrants against the citizens, because the migrants have actually more power and more rights right now than the citizens do. They get free everything and they can't get arrested for anything. That's literally a free-for-all. That's the Wild West. If I know I'm going to get money, even though I go beat you up and the government's going to give you money and it's going to pay for my housing and the cops can't do anything, what am I afraid of?
Exactly. Yeah. It's exactly what they've been planning to do all along, right? We were talking about this earlier as well. Is that they want to have this two-tier system, right, in order to make people really mad. And when people get really mad, they may start to do, you know, certain things in order to make things equal, I guess, right? So that may be a revolution.
Also, if you're trying to get native population out of an area, then you basically fill it with people.
Conspiracy theory.
And then they will leave. I mean, you know, this happened in Compton. You know, Compton was primarily black for the longest time. Now it's all Latin, right? They slowly have pushed them out over time, you know, making housing with a bunch of policies. One of the easiest is to just make things more expensive. And then you push people out who you don't want there, which is incredibly sad I mean, this is in LA happening right now. It's been happening the last 20 years. No one's really talking about it, right? And there's just a lot of things happening in blue states. Sanctuary cities. It's the dumbest terminology that's been codified into a law, but this has been the entire plan the entire time.
It has been. We're going to keep the folks updated if any more cities have any more Venezuelan gangs taking over their apartment complexes.
And by the way, Tucker Carlson is in Anaheim tonight. This is where I grew up, and the crowd is packed. I mean, it is
Wow.
packed here,
Good, good.
absolutely packed. And I wish I could have been there. Would have been nice, but yeah, it looks good. It looks great. I'm glad that people are coming out and listening to Tucker Carlson talk about real stuff.
Definitely. See, Tucker Carlson, I have to give him credit because he doesn't just sit behind the mic, right, in a studio.
Yep.
He does stuff like we do as well, like go out into the field and actually see what's going
Yep.
on there. And I have to give him respect for that. But guys, thank you so much for tuning in for this amazing episode. As
Yeah.
always, you can get this amazing summary of what happened that day on our amazing YouTube channel, our X, Instagram, all of these great places. So make sure that you subscribe, like, share all of this great stuff. And thank you for joining us at the Breakaway with David and Fabian.